Hi, I'm Cindy Ohama, and one of the mediums that I work in is watercolor batik, and I absolutely love it. It's a ton of fun. A lot of times people are a little hesitant about the watercolor thing, but this is truly a really relaxing and fun style of painting. But I get the question a lot, what's the wax all about? Because we're using watercolor and wax as a resist. So I'm going to show you why I use the wax. So let's get started and get painting so you can find out some of my little secrets. There are a few reasons that I wax. For one is protecting areas. So as soon as I put wax down on a piece, it creates a resist. So I've painted the whites of the eyes. So I'm going to go in and start waxing that to protect that area from any other paint that I put on this piece. So what I want to do is I'm going right from my pot of wax that's heated up around 225. It depends on the pot, and they're not that accurate. So what you want to make sure is that the wax is hot enough that the wax will penetrate to the back side of your ginwashi rice paper. By the way, you want to be on parchment paper or wax paper so you don't stick to your paper towel. So do that first. And then what you want to do is have your wax warm enough that it does penetrate, right? So it goes all the way through to the back side of the piece of paper. So once I wax that, I've got the two little eyeballs waxed there. I flip it over and I make sure if I run my hand underneath, I can kind of see where I've missed the wax. You'll have some areas that you can definitely see the wax a little bit glossier, and then areas that are matte or untouched with wax. And I just touch up on the back side of the ginwashi rice paper to make sure that both sides of the paper are protected, because the paint can creep in from the back side. Another reason why I wax is to hide accidents, so drips. A lot of times when you're waxing back and forth, what'll happen is you end up dropping some wax, so little blobs of wax here and there. So to make sure that that looks like it was done on purpose, what I do is spackle first. So you'll see any of these areas that have like white little speckles on there. That's the first part that I do before I even start painting. So what I'll do is I'll take that wax, make sure that it's hot, coming right from your pot onto your piece. Don't let your brush hang out in the air, because then it just cools down. You want to go right from your pot, then you're just going to flick just like a cigarette. Or if you can't do that, you can just take another brush and you can just tap off like that as well. Now that I have all those areas waxed, I have the eyeballs and the beak waxed, I don't have to worry so much about getting those areas dirty with the next color of paint. So when I wash, I can be a little bit looser because that paint just won't stick and penetrate that paper no matter what. So I'm just going to wash that in to show you. See, I can wash right over top of it and it's not going to penetrate. So it's all protected. Same as the dots. Just going to put a wash of color on the background just so you can see how the spots show. So if I decided to do some color in the background, be able to see where those dots are that I spackled as well. Just a quick tip, areas that, let's say you go outside of when you're painting or waxing, either which way. When I waxed, there might be some areas I don't necessarily want there. It is what it is. It's no big deal. I don't get too worked up about it. This big dot here is pretty close to his eye, but it kind of looks cool in the end. I'm all right with that. But not only are there times when wax are going to go outside the lines, but also the paint is going to go outside the lines, like up here on the cup. I wanted to show you how I get rid of them or soften them a little bit. What I would do is just lightly dampen the area, take my finger and just press into the paper underneath, and see how that just leaves the paint behind. So you can do that a few times until it lightens as much as you can get it to. And then when I go to do the background, what I would do is make sure that this area would be one that I would hit with a little bit of color, and that would just disguise it a little bit as well. Another reason why I wax is to get these little cracks in the painting. So if you look in here, there's all these little bits that make this piece look a little bit rough, and most of my batik paintings have those little bits. So how we do those is we take our painting after everything is completed and painted. I'm going to crumple that up in a ball, and I'm just going to shake off the little bits of wax. Usually I would do this over a garbage can or outside because it's pretty messy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a separate pot. I don't load up my brush on my palette because wax gets into this paint, and I don't want that to be contaminated, my actual palette to be contaminated. So what this is just watered down watercolor paint again. I take a brush that I'm not going to be using for anything other than this as well, and I'm just going to wash a little area in. The brush will get gunked up with wax, and that's why you don't want to use it for anything other than this. So what I do is I put a little wash in there, and then I re-crinkle that area, and what that does is forces that paint down into the cracks, and then I just dab off to see what's remaining, and we have some little dark cracks in there. So you can put this absolutely anywhere, as much as you want. It's a little unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to end up with, but that's okay. So that's all the little cracks in the painting. So the last part of the painting is removing all of the wax, and that little bit of wax that is left in the paper in the end, it actually makes all the colors pop really good. So that's the last reason why I use the wax is the colors of the watercolor are nice and bold. So the thing with watercolor is what happens is you paint the piece, it softens a little bit as the paint starts to dry, the color softens, and then we put wax in it, we remove the wax, and then the color starts to pop again. So I have my newspaper, I have the paper towel, I have my painting, and then more newspaper on top, and I've got a nice hot iron ready to go. And what I'm gonna do is start melting the wax and releasing the wax into the paper towel and into the newspaper. So I'm removing all of that wax, soaking it up as much as possible. Tiny bit stays in there, makes it nice and bright. So what I'll do is I'll do the first removal with the paper towel, and then after that we'll just use newspaper. Now look at this. Oh yeah, look at those colors. Look at that pop, so pretty. So then I'll go back in just with some more newspaper. Release again until there's no more wax. Usually I do 2 more layers like this, and then that's good. And then just make sure that you mount on top of white paper, because that's when it pops. So there's that piece done. That's why I use wax in my batik paintings, or why everybody uses wax in their batik paintings. So I hope you enjoyed the demo, and we'll see you again.